Hope you're all still awake. Late Night Mega here, and you recognize that chair too, right? Yeah, that's Grandma's chair. And we have this doll here, presumably of... looks like a doll of Evelyn. And we come and... I hear a bobblehead. Oh, there's...
It's not here. It's gone.
This is a
It's
flashback.
gone.
Or hallucination. So yeah, Evelyn's purpose, there's our bobblehead on the shelf there. That might be excessive, but we don't need this shotgun ammo anymore. So it really doesn't matter at this point. And we have this photo, E001. You guys recognize that, and that's Grandma. You guys piecing it together yet? Well, if not, well, stay tuned a few more minutes. So yeah, Evelyn is a military weapon designed to, be able to take control of their enemies. And we've seen that with the Bakers. She can also, like, create those molded creatures. Yeah, that's what happens if you just pick up the phone. You get nothing. But we've seen her, like, take control over the Bakers. She has the power to create the molded, she has that hyper regeneration, and she has the power to create hallucinations. I think, in my opinion, that's just a little too much. I'm going to turn down the brightness a little bit, because it seems like it's kind of too bright in here. There we go.
This is
I think I had it that bright.
Why am I seeing this?
But yeah, we're back at the guest house, back where Ethan's adventure began.
Ethan, it's okay. It's okay. It's me. I know you didn't mean to hurt me.
Kill him, Mommy.
But you shouldn't have done that! It fucking hurts!
He doesn't want to be my daddy? Then he can die.
Creepy little girl.
Now it's Mommy's turn to kill you.
Or is little girl even an appropriate title to give you? Well, if you come back in here, there's nothing. Nothing new in here. And yeah, this is all boarded up. You see the dollhouse. There's some new objects that have been moved around and such, but nothing important. And I think it is just kind of naturally brighter in here. I mean, yeah, you've got like that blinding light. So we come over here.
You're gonna be one of us. And then
I mean, in my opinion, Evelyn, I think she just has too many powers between... I think the her being able to create hallucinations is just a little over the top. Hi, Mia. That didn't actually deal damage to us. Actually, I don't remember that, like, actually knocking us back. Oh, a giant doll. That wasn't there before. I'm just messing around. But yeah, that Mia hallucination can't actually damage you. The way I remember it first time I played was the chainsaw Mia hallucination just kind of ran right through me and didn't knock me back or anything. But okay, well, what we have to do is go up here. No, hi Mia. Yeah, I like that. Now, this is the only part where I think you can actually die to the final boss, Evelyn, here. So what you got to do is you have to block when she launches her burst attack there. Get closer. If you don't block, she'll do a lot of damage to you and throw you all the way back to this wall, and you got to start over again. And you can use healing items here, and it'll do quite a lot of damage. But once you get close enough to her, you inject her with the, Stop Evelyn serum. And you find out that Evelyn is really Grandma. Makes sense now? I mean, those military, or those documents we found in the salt mines said that Evelyn experienced rapid aging. And they were able to get that under control, and oh, this is just gross. And now Evelyn is taking control of the house. Now, from this point onward, I honestly don't think it matters what you do. You can fire your weapon at this thing. I don't think it means anything. I could be wrong, but the way this plays out from here is just one giant interactive cutscene. Okay, once this scene triggers, you can no longer actually use the control stick to move your character, and you can no longer use healing items. So that's why I said this is really not a good final boss. It's just a final interactive cutscene. There's a couple things we have to do. Maybe if you don't do them, do the obvious things, you'll see how obvious. I don't think any of this matters right now. But we'll just fire on this thing for fun. Yeah, you can't walk around, you can't use healing items. Then this will happen. I mean, it looks like we're taking damage there. We have. Oh, well, that's definitely got to cause some damage. And at this point, we can no longer open our inventory. Oh, maybe we can't. I don't know. I don't think it matters.
I just wanted a family.
I don't think any of that matters either. Just do whatever, or don't do anything. And maybe you can still get game overs here or whatnot, but there's two main things that you gotta do. You gotta press X here, and the cutscene will take care of getting this weapon for you. This is the Albert handgun that we actually unlocked. And then the other thing you have to do is fire this thing. And just keep firing it until you hit her in the face. There should be enough. Oh, okay, here, have another one. And that's all you gotta do. So yeah, I think as long as you do those two things, I don't think you can actually lose this. I'm not fully sure on the mechanics of all this, but that's the way it at least feels like, the way that it comes across. And in my opinion, if your game is if your final boss is coming across like you can't die to it like this, that's just not good design. And that's it. And then we go to this cutscene. It's kind of a weird transition there. I don't know if that's fully normal. But yeah, I think once it said Evelyn had hallucination powers on top of everything else she can do, you know, creating moldeds, mind control, and the super regeneration. The hallucinations, it's just kind of too much for one thing to be able to do. Oh, hi there.
I'm Redfield.
Redfield?
Glad we found you.
Like Chris Redfield? You do not really look like Chris Redfield,
took
but
you guys so long?
okay. But yes, viewers, that is indeed Chris Redfield. Now, the other change that would happen here if you chose Zoe instead of Mia is you're going to see we're... Okay, come on. Yeah, we're in the copter here with Mia. If we chose to save Zoe, what we would have instead is Ethan would be looking at his phone, and it would show that video of Mia from the very beginning, where she says, "Hey baby, I'm coming home soon," and Ethan just takes his phone and throws it out the helicopter. Kind of sad.
They say that when one door closes, another opens.
And then the rest of this is the same.
Well, a door closed tonight. And what a long night it was. But not just for me. Mia and I weren't the only victims here. So were the Bakers. It was that thing, Evelyn, who made them that way.
Umbrella
But now
Corporation.
Evelyn's dead,
Hmm.
and these guys are here to clean up the mess. I had just come to terms with losing Mia. But now she's back and wants to start over. Put all this behind us. Maybe this is where the next door opens.
Oh yeah, a couple of those lines will change too if you have Zoe, but it overall doesn't really matter. So yeah, that was the good ending, and now it's time for... Is it time for the credits? Do we have another cutscene here? No, this is credits. So yes, now it's time for my final review of Resident Evil 7. We'll start with the things that I didn't like. The biggest one being the final boss, Evelyn, there. I was expecting something so much better than what we actually got here. And it was, for me, it was just one massive disappointment. Like, the final boss can't even kill you. Just make sure you press X to pick up the gun, and then fire it. And I feel like that's all you really had to do in that sequence. And even if you have to do more, there's like very little effort on the player's part. The molded creatures, I don't like them. I don't like the fact that when you shoot them in the head, they sprint towards you instead of being stunned. And I kind of talked about this throughout the playthrough as well, how that felt kind of like a way to punish the player for playing good. And I don't like when game design does that sort of thing. And I also didn't like the inconsistent health of the molded creatures. Now, if the molded creatures had like that big super mutated arm, like we saw a few times, or if they had like no arms, or they were four-legged molded, I'm okay with those variants having different health amounts. But everything else should be consistent, and it really didn't feel consistent. This was especially true and noticeable when I was escaping from the second floor just after killing Marguerite and getting the D-Series arm. But it happened in other places as well. The plot. I'm not fully sure what to make of the plot. I don't like how everything just kind of became all about Evelyn at the end there. It's like, oh yeah, the Bakers were like that because of Evelyn. And then it's kind of like, well, we spent, a large portion of the game, thinking that the Bakers were the enemies, and they were acting like the enemies, and the game portrayed them as the enemies. And then they're like, nope, it's all Evelyn. I mean, I kind of understand, given Evelyn's abilities and natures, why it turned out that way. But I'm saying I don't like that. I like the concept of, okay, you have this crazy psycho family, they have these powers from who knows where, and you have to try and deal with them. And they're the ones that are in charge, but that was really like, no, they're not really in charge. And I don't know, it just kind of devalues all of that, all of what happened in the first 2/3 of the game in my mind. I didn't like the part where we played as Mia. I don't know, why couldn't we just keep playing as Ethan and use all our other equipment? I mean, on one hand, I do like that the tanker section was different from the other sections. They did a great job making the main areas all have a different feel and different play style from the other ones. You had the segment with Jack where you're going through the house, you're trying to find the right items to unlock the next parts to get deeper into the house, and find the scorpion key, get the shotgun, all that sort of stuff. Then you had the segments with Marguerite where you got to put together the burner and then use that on those hornet nests, and then use the crank, and then you had Lucas's section, which was all about tricks and traps and clever puzzles and things like that. And then you had the fat molded there, and then you had the tanker section, which I guess I can appreciate being locked out of your inventory somewhat, because you had a whole bunch of mission objectives all at once. One of those being, you need a better weapon. You need that machine gun, because you had a handgun, but that was not going to suffice. And I guess that's kind of the way that they were able to pull that off. So I guess I'm okay with that. And then you had the salt mines, which was just kind of like a gauntlet battle against the molded enemies. Not really a lot of tricks and traps or puzzles to figure out. Just here's a bunch of molded, deal with them. And so each area had its own sort of unique feel to that, and I like that about the game. Another thing I didn't like, though, was, we didn't have melee attacks. And that, again, kind of relates back to the molded. Every other Resident Evil game, well, I should say the ones that I've played, Resident Evil 4 through 6, Revelations 1 and 2 they didn't really have that either. It kind of did, kind of didn't. That's a whole nother story. But for Resident Evil 4 through 6, you shoot an enemy in the head, you stun them, or you shoot them in the knee, you stun them. You can have a melee attack prompt and save ammo and deal a bunch of damage to them with some sort of melee attack, whether it's punching them in the face or kicking them or suplexing them, whatever. We didn't have that here, and that kind of came across as a disappointment for me. Things I did like. I liked all the puzzle solving. I liked most of the gameplay. I liked going through the house and, trying to figure out, what you got to do next, because you have a whole bunch of things that happen all at once, kind of. You're like, okay, this door's locked. You need dog heads to get out of the house. You need a scorpion key to get the shotgun. You need all this stuff. You need a wooden statuette to solve this shadow puzzle and open up this other path. So there was a lot going on, and I really appreciated that. It was kind of a throwback to the original Resident Evil, but it never felt too overwhelming. Like it was like just like spot on. I have tried to play the original Resident Evil, and ignore controls and cameras for a moment. You're basically put in this mansion, and okay, say there's like 6 places you could visit right off the bat. And okay, so those things all need some sort of specific item or specific puzzle to solve or whatever. And then say you solve 2 of those, and then you get to an area where like 7 more things open up. In Resident Evil 7 here, what you had going through the houses, you had 7 things or however many things you had to figure out and solve or whatever. But then the game would have you solve all of those things, like getting the scorpion key, wooden statuette, and it wouldn't really throw, okay, here's a lot more at you now that you've solved a couple of those things. No, you kind of solve all of those things, and then you get the 3rd dog head, and then you go out into the trailer area, and then you go to the old house, and it's like, okay, you're at the old house, now here's your new set of challenges. Or you get to the tanker, here's your new set of challenges. I did like how the tanker had, multiple objectives going at once. That was kind of cool. I think I've said that a couple times already. Yeah, plot-wise, I would have liked it if it was more like the whole family being in charge. Because, like, you started off, okay, you went through and you dealt with Jack's area. You went through, you dealt with Marguerite's area. You dealt with Lucas's area. And then the tanker was kind of Evelyn's area. I like that feel. It really made a nice, distinct feel between all of it. This is kind of neat music, too. Inventory management. I liked looking around for items. I liked managing the inventory. It was kind of frustrating, at least the first time I played it, because you need chem fluid or strong chem fluid to combine with 4 other base items. And chem fluid is really your limiting factor in all of those. I would have liked to have seen more like different combinations of things you could make. not necessarily. I mean, yeah, you had like the 2 burner pieces you combine together, or the repair kit and the broken guns, but that's not quite what I'm going for here. I would like to have seen more things that you could have combined with, say, gunpowder. Like, combine gunpowder and some other item to get shotgun shells or something. Just something to give... something so that everything wasn't just needing chem fluid or strong chem fluid to combine. I think that would have added a little bit more depth, maybe a little more confusion, but the Resident Evil Revelations 2 did that, and I thought it went quite well. You would get, like, empty bottles, and then there was, like, a few different things you could fill them with, and then there were some objects that you could combine with 1 or 2 other objects, either make a sub-weapon explosive or make some sort of healing item out of it, like a disinfectant or a tourniquet or whatever. And those would heal like certain other conditions that would come. And I would have liked to have seen something like that implemented here. And I feel some of the mechanics, once you know the game, become very exploitable. Like the whole, okay, there's no danger, you've killed all the enemies in this area, so there's not going to be any danger here ever. And it kind of made things a little bit, I don't want to say easier. I don't know, something just feels kind of off about it. But on the flip side, I wouldn't want enemies just constantly and randomly respawning in. So yeah, this is kind of the game that once you play through it and you know how it's done, you play through it again and it loses a lot of the luster, a lot of the shock value of that. But speaking of shock value, I did like all the crazy stuff that was going on in the beginning with getting your hand cut off, you know, getting it put back on, getting your foot cut off, getting that reattached. You know, you get to take a car and run over a guy in a Resident Evil game. You get to do a crazy chainsaw wielding sword fight with Jack. It's just crazy. And it was kind of neat where they could take things in this game. And so I did really like that feeling. It really set the tone for a lot of the game. But I feel as the game went on, that sort of craziness just kind of wore off. And as the plot was kind of taking over with Evelyn, well, that's what she did. She took over. So, yeah. But, oh, we're getting a phone call. That is not... Okay, well, there's our stats. The playtime is a little overstated. Yeah, I already mentioned I missed a few of these things. Not a big deal. At least it's not a big deal to me. I don't care about those. But next time, we're not going to put this game to bed quite yet. We're going to take a look at the free DLC that came with this. It's called Not a Hero, and we play as Chris Redfield. And it has a final boss to it that can actually kill you. What a concept, right? So we're going to be taking that on next time.